My name is Connor Lewis. I'm an intern with Student Athlete Development here at URI. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Mr. Thorr Bjorn. He is the athletic director at URI. Thorr, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Connor. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Again, my name is Thorr Bjorn. I've been the athletic director for almost 18 years at the university, and grew up in Connecticut. Went to school at the University of Massachusetts. Played football there for 4 years, and then started my journey in college athletics. So it's great to be here with you.
Well, thank you for being here again. Thank you. I appreciate it. The reason we're here today is to discuss the importance of student athlete development, and a lot of the changes have been going on in college recently. So I'm going to just jump right into it. What should URI people know about the transfer portal?
Sure. As you said, there's so many changes in college athletics. It's a different place than it was even 2 years ago, and never mind 10 years ago. But one of the biggest areas of change certainly is the transfer portal and the flexibility for student athletes to be able to kind of come and go whenever they want to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of benefit to that, I think, but there's also some negatives. And the reason why we're in this position, because with some sports it was you could transfer one time and play right away. With other sports you had to sit out a year, and that created confusion. And so the reason why the transfer portal changes are in place, it was all based on lawsuits and legal challenges and so forth. So at one point the NCAA said we're going to make it uniform so everybody can transfer once, but then you really can't talk about the transfer portal without talking about NIL.
Yeah.
So then the argument was, why can't I only transfer one time without sitting? Why can't I transfer all the time? Because if you restrict my ability to play, you're restricting my ability to make money in NIL. So with that, especially for, I would probably say the FBS football level programs and even FCS to a point, but the basketball programs, there's a significant number of students that are coming and going.
Right.
Whether they're going up a level, down a level, it's kind of, its own unique challenge. Why do I say it's good? It's good because it gives students the flexibility. It's a great time in their life to figure out where they're going to be the most happy. It's bad, and this may sound Pollyannish, but it's what I believe. Students are coming here to get an education. And if you're going to transfer, I think the research will show it's harder for you to earn that degree if you're transferring once, but really hard if you're doing it 2 or 3 times. So I think there's goods and bads with it. It's not changing. I think that's one of the things that people ask all the time. When's it going to go back to the way it used to be? It never will.
Yeah.
Because technically in the world we live in now with NIL, it's a restraint of trade. So you can't do that anymore unless it becomes a collectively bargained issue, which becomes a whole different set of challenges.
Yeah. Well, do you think that's going to ever happen? Do you think it's going to be kind of more like pro sports in that way, where there is collective bargaining agreements?
There could be, but with collective bargaining, it means that student athletes are employees, which is what everybody should avoid, including student athletes.
Yeah.
Those that are here getting a scholarship, there is some, I guess you could look at that as some level of compensation, and there's some student protections that come in play. If you go and you become, you collectively bargain certain issues, okay, that's one thing. The difference between the NCAA, which has 350 some odd schools at different levels, right, from Ohio State to a much lower level, pick your favorite school in that category, to everybody in between. So you have 350 schools times 14 to 30 programs times X number of student athletes. It's going to be really hard to find a common collective bargaining stance,
yeah,
as opposed to the NFL or Major League Baseball or whatever. So I don't see how that happens. There's a lot of talk about that, and maybe it could become an A10 collective bargaining deal or a Big East or whatnot, but I think that's going to take some time to figure and navigate too. So there's a lot of challenges associated with it. I think the spirit of college athletics certainly changes dramatically.
Yeah.
Where, and I'd like to, I'll focus kind of on the basketball programs here and men's basketball in particular. URI's got a long history of excitement and enthusiasm around their basketball program. And a lot of times it's because our small community's got to know these student athletes over time and really watch them grow and develop. Well, that's really gone now, with very few exceptions. So I think it diminishes the community impact for sure. So there's a lot of challenges with it.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the challenges of NIL. Where do you stand? What are the challenges that you've faced so far with NIL? It's kind of a new thing still, but what have you faced so far in these early stages of NIL?
I think again, I think NIL is great.
Yeah.
And the concept of it is great, right? Back when it was an opportunity for a student to make money on their name, image, and likeness, which means they're no longer restricted. So that's terrific. It's entrepreneurial, go for it. Well, that's not where we are. Now we're in the world of collectives. And again, with the House settlement, we'll see how that changes even more, although the Office of Civil Rights came out with an interpretation last night that threw the whole industry into a little bit of a tizzy.
Saw that.
So we'll see if in 2 days that changes with a new administration. So there's just, we're caught up in a political world right now. But no, I think NIL is great. The biggest challenge is funding it. So if we look at trying to come up with a collective that has X amount of dollars in it for our basketball program, that we're trying to be competitive within the Atlantic 10, that's a significant amount of money. And in the current format, that can't come into the university. So if we're asking donors to get behind it and support it, they're just writing a check. They're not getting any tax benefit for it. They're not taking it out of donor advised funds or foundations. So it's just basically someone saying, hey, can you write us a check for X amount of dollars? And to be honest with you, there aren't a lot of people that love that concept.
Yeah.
Not at Rhode Island, but just generally. Because again, I think you go back and look at the history, college athletics is supposed to be a chance to play and get a degree. Okay, now that's changed. And so as people look at it, they're like, why do I want to pay for this kid to, why am I putting in 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand for a college kid to be able to play a sport? I don't understand that. So maybe they'll get behind it for a couple of years, but after that, it's going to, we keep hearing the word, it's not sustainable. And I'm not talking about Rhode Island, I'm talking about across the country.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I know we're going to talk about house, but when it comes in-house, and if there's one interpretation that is more based on revenue, which is what the lawsuit was settled by, then we can attack it a certain way. But if the interpretation holds that came out from the Biden administration yesterday, then it's a whole separate issue and challenges that, again, we're just one small piece of that. If I'm a Power 5 football program based upon the interpretation, I'm trying to figure out what the heck am I doing today.
Yeah, I totally understand that. You mentioned the House settlement. We might as well talk about that. Can you explain what that is? Because there's a lot of people that are kind of confused by that. So just give us the basics.
The basics of the House settlement. So there was the lawsuit was basically saying that, again, it's all based on NIL.
Yep.
And it's, in part was saying that student athletes deserve some ability to retain revenue of a piece of the revenue that they generate. So without getting into all the different details or nuances, at the end of the day, it was decided that universities, it's really the Power 4 leagues versus House, or House versus the Power 4 leagues.
Yep.
They have the ability to provide up to $20 million this coming year, 20.5, in revenue to paybacks to student athletes. And there's a piece of the settlement that goes back and does back payments through 2016. There's a whole group that's going to figure out like the value of each student. And it's really going to be men's football at like the 92, 93%. And then maybe men's basketball for the next group, and then women's basketball the next group. And that's probably where it's going to end. I'm not an expert. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
So now it's really more focused on moving forward. So, where programs are going to have a chance to be able to say, hey, we're going to opt in to being able to pay student athletes internally, which, some schools like us would say that's a benefit. And we're talking about basketballs here. We're not talking about any other sport. We're talking about the basketballs. So then we say, okay, we want to do that. Why is that a benefit to us? It's a benefit to us because now donors could write a check to the foundation. We can use those funds. We can use, budget savings. We can do a lot of different creative ways to try to put a pool together to be able to be competitive in the NIL space. So that provides us flexibility. Where it hurts is, where it doesn't really hurt us. It hurts a couple of our programs. As part of the opt-in, you have to honor these new roster caps that are put in place. And so that could be of a challenge to 3 of our sports primarily. That would be like, okay, we carry a higher roster number than what they're talking about or what our cap's going to be. So that could hurt our ability to be as competitive as we've been. So we have to kind of navigate that and weigh, and my recommendation to the university is, hey, it's to our benefit to opt in. Maybe that hurts a couple of our programs potentially, maybe it doesn't. But the flexibility of generating revenue internally makes so much more sense if we're going to try to be competitive in the basketball world.
Yeah, totally understand that. You mentioned roster caps. I kind of want to circle back to that. How do you think that's affecting walk-ons? Because walk-ons are a big part, especially of D1 sports. How do you think that's going to affect the future?
Oh my goodness. I think walk-ons in general are going to be impacted by the roster caps will certainly hurt.
Yeah.
With, when you look at rosters for programs like track or football, that's capped now at the 105, or tracks it maybe at 50. Hockey's going to be reduced. Baseball's reduced. So it's going to certainly hurt your ability to be recruited and build build rosters up that way. What it's also going to really hurt is all this stuff that we're talking about. Everything that we're talking about is going to really hurt high school recruiting. And we haven't even talked about the potential of a 5-year and 5-year, where you have 5 years to play 5 years. That's going to significantly impact high school recruiting as well. So I think there's going to be less opportunities for walk-ons for sure. And again, that's a real shame because it's part of that college experience.
Yeah.
I'm not naive. I am a little bit of a traditionalist. I'm a former full scholarship student athlete. I was very fortunate. I got everything covered when I played football at UMass. So I graduated with no debt, no cool experience, blah, blah, blah. I feel like I was provided everything I ever needed to be successful during my time. And there's value there, right? So I don't think I'm speaking out of school saying as a former full scholarship student athlete, I was cheated in any way, shape, or form. I wasn't. Yeah. I was given an education, and when I think about a lot of students out there that are taking on debt to get earn a degree, I'm sure they would love an opportunity to compete and earn an athletic scholarship, whether full or partial, to be able to help pay their bills. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now.
That's okay. I kind of want to change gears a little bit. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on Monday. He gave a speech here roughly 60 years ago, I want to say. What does that mean to this school, and what does that mean to this community?
It's really powerful. And what's amazing about that is up until probably 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I had no idea.
Really?
And we had some students that really kind of looked into, actually a former employee that found that out and started doing some research. And that's why we actually have a plaque out in front of Keeney Gym right now, memorializing that really amazing speech, and to be able to think that Dr. King was right here and right there and during such an important time in our country's history. I get the chills thinking about it. And what was really amazing is when we dedicated the plaque, we had a number of student athletes and some staff. The dean of the business school, for example, went up and spoke about and actually said the words that he used on that particular day. It was powerful. I thought it was really, really powerful. And I can't say that 100% of the time when I walk by the Keeney lobby that I see that plaque, but I bet it's 80% of the time, and just it brings a smile to my face. It's pretty amazing.
Totally understand that. So the main reason I'm here is to talk about student athlete development. What do you think we need to do as a department that I'm interning in to do to support our student athletes better in the coming years with all the changes that are happening with transfer portals, NIL, the House settlement, all of that? What can we do to support our student athletes much better?
I think we support our student athletes fantastically.
Yeah, of course.
And I think, and what does that mean? It means that we care, we're accessible. It means that we're providing, I think, wonderful academic support. We're providing we aren't in athletics, but the university is an amazing school for people to get a degree in a beautiful part of the country. And, I think by showing that we care is huge, right? And hopefully lifelong relationships where people will feel like they can come back to this campus 30 years from now with their kids and say, you know what, and not everybody, I get it, not everybody's going to have a great experience.
Yeah.
But I hope to think that most do. And most will look back and say, wow, there were some people whether it was in athletics or part of the campus that really impacted my life. And for that, I'm going to have a great connection or appreciation to URI for a lifetime. We learn, having, Jeff Johnson here to take on really an important time in college athletics, a position that we never had before, to be able to have that integral connection with our students is really powerful to see. Yeah. And the impacts that he and the students that he works with can have for a lifetime, whether that's making connections with other administrative areas or other departments on campus, or during some challenging times for kids. It's another very important way of saying, hey, we care, we're here. Yeah. So there's always work you can do, education. I don't believe in enabling. I just don't. That sounds like, again, another soapbox thing. But it's like, hey, what can we do to provide people an opportunity to have a really cool experience? If you want to sit in your bed and sleep until noon, yeah, you can do that too. But you're not going to really gain all the experiences you could have to hopefully provide a lifetime of the baseline for a lifetime of success that maybe you can start building when you're here. We have some people that sleep till noon. We have a lot more that really spend a lot of time working hard on their coursework and then working hard on the physicality of whatever they need to do within their sport, and then go represent this school. So I'm incredibly proud to be part of this department and part of the university, and amazed by the student athletes that come through here. I'm amazed by our staff. I'm amazed by our coaches that really do care. Are we perfect? No, not even close, but nobody is. But we care, and we want to try to provide the best experience that we can. And that's what gets me most excited and motivated. And that's when I knew that we were going to have this conversation today. I can guarantee you, without exception, spending time with you today is the best part of my day, because it gives me a chance to interact with a person that's figuring out what they want to do potentially with their lives and in their careers, and hopefully have a lifetime connection. That's what's selfishly the most important thing for me.
Well, no, those words mean a lot to me, and I'm sure they mean a lot to the student athletes that you see every day that are going to be watching this. What would you say to the parents, though, of those kids the recruits that are getting recruited by URI, but it's such a challenging time for those recruits, and parents don't really know what's going on, let alone the students? What do you have to say to them to kind of ease their worries?
I would say anytime I meet with a friend or a parent that has a student athlete being recruited, and if we're talking about student athletes, let's do that. I try to encourage them to have fun. Let the student have fun. Don't put the added burden and pressure. Let them enjoy the recruiting experience. It's going to go by fast. Sometimes it's overwhelming. And find the right school where you can, have a good appreciation. And then back off.
Yeah, okay.
I have some really good friends that have kids, not at URI, that are playing Division I sports at other schools. And last year, both of them reached out to me just in talking, and not specifically about this, but frustrated. My kid's not playing. Maybe they should transfer. And my response is, are they happy? Yeah. And I said, well, back off.
Yeah.
Let them go be happy. You know what I mean? And I promise you this: coaches are going to play who they think can help them win.
Right.
And if it just so happens that your son or daughter can't help them win that right now, in their opinion, let them have a good time. Now, if they're unhappy or having a bad experience, different story.
Different. Right.
But if they're enjoying their student athlete experience and the school that they're going to and the major that they're part of, then just back off and let them start growing up and navigating challenges of life, because they're going to have to figure it out at some point. And in college is a perfect time to start figuring that out.
100%. I get what you're saying, and I think that's a great message to send to all parents. You got to let your kid decide their fate. You get to a certain point where you got to let them go. But let's talk a little bit more about you. I don't mean to be selfish. I know you like to talk about other people, but how have you demonstrated leadership as an athletic director at URI?
I think what I try to do is empower people to do their jobs. Mm-hmm. If it's staff, be there to be supportive. But I say a funny term. I like to think of myself as the opposite of a micromanager. I don't know if there's such a thing as a macromanager, but that seems opposite.
I think you might invent it.
I may have invented it, but that's how I think of myself. Yeah. And finding the right people that embrace that aren't scared of going out on a limb a little bit and trying. I will never, embarrass or yell or scream. That's not my management style. Yeah. I will get annoyed or frustrated at times, but at the end of the day, it's because, again, if someone's being disrespectful to somebody else out there, if someone's not trying, if someone's not working hard, then you can have some hard conversations. But if someone makes a mistake, I got you. Let's go figure it out together. Yeah. We're there. We got each other. We'll be supportive of each other. I want people that are willing to take risks like that. Mm-hmm. Calculated risks that hey, maybe I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna go try. And as long as we know the basic, the core values of that, we're trying to provide a really good, safe, cool experience for students. Do things the right way. Be honest. We'll figure the rest out. And if we make mistakes, this is not. It's not brain surgery. It's not heart surgery. It's college athletics. So if we make a mistake, let's own it and get better. Mm-hmm. Not hide from it. And if we have to apologize, we apologize and we move on. That's important, And I want people to find people that want to work here. I have an amazing group of people I work with. Yeah. It's people that and it hasn't always been. You don't always have the right fit. I've always had some good people, but it's not always the right chemistry and the right fit. We have that now. Yeah. And I'm looking for people that want that chair. I want people that want that chair. Yeah, and that doesn't scare me. That excites me. And not everybody wants to be an athletic director, but I want to find people that do.
Yeah.
because I think they're willing to do more, take more risks in terms of, when I say risk, I mean get outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm not saying risky behavior. It's get outside your comfort zone, feel more, confident, saying, okay, I have no idea if I can go ask someone for $1 million, but you know what? Maybe I'll give it a shot. And if they fail, they fail.
Yeah.
That's the type of people I'm looking for, providing opportunities and experiences. And there's not everybody wants to go to every conference. Not everybody wants to go to, every game on the road to get an experience. But I believe it's our job to encourage them to do that if they want to, or work with them to try to find the funding to do the things that they want to do to grow. I'm on the back end of my career. There's a lot of young people in our staff that are on the front end.
Right.
So how do we give them all the experiences they need so that I know someday if I have a current staff member that's going to be an athletic director, I want to go to their press conference.
Yeah.
I want to be there and say, wow, I'm so proud of you because it's been fun to see your development.
Yeah.
That's selfish, but it's what truly inspires me and motivates me. And that's why I love being around the people I work with.
Yeah. I mean, that's a beautiful thing to hear. I don't know what you mean by back half. You're only like 45. Right? So I'm not sure.
Yes. Yes.
Well, another question about yourself, and I think we'll wrap it up after that. The title of athletic director, to some people, is kind of a scary thing. They're sometimes afraid to approach someone who's kind of in a higher place. Can you share like a fun fact about yourself to kind of ease people's, maybe something you do in New York or when you travel or something like that? I don't know. If
sure.
you feel free to
no,
share.
I do. So right here, that is my fun fact is, and it always makes me smile. I have 3 daughters that are grown now, all URI grads. But when they were little, when I was working at UMass is when we started it, and then continued right up on probably till 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. No, a couple of years ago. Where I'd bring them one at a time to New York City to go see a Broadway show. Yeah. And my daughter Robin actually made this for me for Christmas behind my right shoulder, which is just some of the shows that she and I went to see together. So it was pretty powerful to get that. But I've done it with all 3 of my girls, and so I think I've been to 30, 35 Broadway shows in my life, and I just love it. Sometimes people say that you're not athletic, you like musicals. No, I don't like them. I love them. And all 3 of my kids were involved in their music and drama programs in high school. And,
yeah.
I never wanted to miss a show. It just, I get really excited about that. I see theater kids as just amazing. It's kind of like sports, just different.
It is, yeah.
But the camaraderie and the compassion they show each other and support they show each other is really, I can speak firsthand to see how powerful that was for my kids. So that's kind of what I like to do or love to do. And being on a college campus, it gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different cool things.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time. It was a great first airing of a podcast, and thank you very much for being here. This is Thorr Bjorn. I'm Connor Lewis, signing off.